Wiz and Liz was developed by Raising Hell Software for the Amiga and Mega Drive and published by Psygnosis back in 1993. It was a cutesy platform game, but the main objective of each of the levels is to simply run around like a madman collecting all the wabbits. That's right, they're not rabbits, they're wabbits. There are no enemies in the game with the exception of some mid and end game bosses. The main enemy here is the timer. After choosing your difficulty, and either Wiz and Liz to play as, the game then starts you at your house on planet Pum, where foolishly you left a spell unattended bubbling away in the cauldron. Thanks to your negligence, the spell went tits up and seemingly kidnapped all the wabbits and created a series of nasty bosses. Now it's your job to go rescue all those wabbits. The first thing you must do is create a spell using a strawberry and a tomato from a nearby tree. This will create a permanent door beside your house that will transport you to the level selection screen. After each level you will be transported back to your house where you will be able to create more and more spells before heading off to the next level. There are a total of 8 different worlds consisting of 2 or more rounds depending on difficulty. On easy you simply have to complete 8 worlds and defeat the end boss. On medium you have to complete all 8 worlds twice, defeating an end boss each time. And finally on hard you must complete each world 3 times, completing 3 end bosses in total. Also, to make things even harder, you are given less and less time as the difficulty is increased. On each level you have X amount of time to run around and collect wabbits. As you collect these wabbits, simply by touching them, they will drop letters that you will need to collect to complete a spell at the top of the screen. Once you've collected all the letters, you simply have to collect all of the remaining wabbits and reach the door at the end of the level. On the harder difficulties, some wabbits begin to flash. If you don't collect those wabbits in time, they will explode, causing you to lose all of the letters you've collected so far. Luckily, a little fairy will appear next to you when a wabbit begins to flash, pointing you in its general direction. The wabbits will also drop other things, including stars that are the currency of the game, fruit and vegetables that you must collect a certain amount of if you wish to create more and more spells after each level, time, which will be added to your total, but not until the next level, and special bonus letters that can be collected to gain access to a bonus round. The game is absolutely frantic, because not only are you against the clock, but any time remaining when completing a level will carry over to the next. So if you leave yourself with only 15 seconds, the next level is going to be tricky. Luckily though, once per level, once the timer is reduced to 10 seconds, one of the remaining wabbits will have a special orange orb that adds an instant 30 seconds to your timer. This is very useful and absolutely necessary on the harder difficulties, and makes for some hilarious moments of desperation as you zoom around the level collecting every wabbit just to try and find this special orange orb. If the timer runs out before you manage to rescue all the wabbits and reach the door, you will lose one of your 3 lives. But fear not, for when this happens your timer is refilled, and this is but a glorious feeling. After each level you are transported back to your house where you are able to mix new spells that will help or hinder you, or possibly do absolutely nothing. As you run around the levels you must collect a certain amount of whichever ingredient that level randomly chooses. Once you've collected enough, you will see that ingredient following Wiz around the level. This indicates that you have collected the required amount. Any ingredients that you have collected can be found hanging on the trees surrounding Wiz's house. You simply jump and touch one to collect it, and then run over the cauldron to place it inside. Once you've added 2 ingredients, the cauldron will start to bubble away, and if your combination of ingredients was correct, something will happen. It will say at the bottom of the screen what the spell has done. The spells could do anything from giving you extra points, time, lives, to skipping levels completely, or even unlocking one of the 13 minigames that can give you extra points, stars and time. There are 14 different ingredients and over 100 different spells in the game, one of which is a shop that will allow you to spend your stars on ingredients, extra time and extra lives. Without this shop you will struggle to complete the game on the hardest difficulty. It's a good idea to keep a pen and paper handy to write down what spells the different combinations of ingredients create. That is if you want to discover the spells by yourself. For those that just want to know the spell combinations, I will put a link in the description. The levels are designed in such a way that you never reach the edge of the screen. Instead they loop around, enabling you to run indefinitely. You may choose to run in any direction you wish as you jump up and drop down to various platforms in an attempt to locate and collect your fluffy little friends. There are also different level designs for each of the worlds, so when we're playing worlds on the harder difficulties, you won't be running around the same levels. The controls are nice and responsive, with a single fire button making Wiz jump, or holding down and pressing fire making him drop down to a lower level. The gameplay is very fast and very smooth, with the exception of some minor slowdown when there was a lot happening on the screen. But I was running on the Amiga 500 Plus, and I've heard that the slowdown is reduced significantly if using newer Amiga models. The soundtrack of the game is great and features multiple upbeat tracks, whilst the graphics are bright and cheerful with some nicely drawn sprites and backgrounds. The game also comes with a great two-player split-screen versus mode, where instead of racing against the timer, you race against a friend to be the first to collect your wabbits and get the hell out. Both Wiz and Liz have their own coloured wabbits to collect. There are multiple options to customise your two-player experience, including the amount of lives, rounds, the difficulty and the movement speed. This game does not suffer like some Amiga games from ridiculous disc swapping routines. After the initial boot up, you are only required to change the disc once. The game comes with 2 floppy disks and the box states that 1 MB of memory is required, so if you have the Amiga 500 you will need a RAM upgrade. If you have the 500 Plus or any of the newer Amiga models, you are good to go. As far as installing the game on the hard drive goes, I've never had an Amiga hard drive so I'm not sure, but some sources say you can install while other sources say you cannot, so who knows. The game was relatively well received when it was released. Rob Mead of Amiga Format rated it 77%, saying Wiz and Liz proves to be surprisingly addictive, and the whole thing is easy to control thanks to some slick joystick moves. Stuart Campbell of Amiga Power gave it 78%, stating that graphics, animation and movement are all absolutely lovely, and the number of secret bonuses and hidden games tucked away in there are colossal, and only knocked the game for it being too easy on anything other than the hardest settings. Jonathan Sloan of CU Amiga gave the game 79%, saying it's fast, frantic and at times challenging, also stating the animations are top notch and the sounds are suitably upbeat. Talking about the 2-player mode, he said it really begins to shine when you drag a mate along and compete against each other. But he did knock the game by saying, however, the 1-player game is bound to lose its appeal before too long. Matt Broughton of the One Amiga even gave this game a second review, raising his score from 86% to 93%, saying, looking back at my original review, I didn't give this game enough credit, especially as a 2-player game. He then went on to say, I urge you to get your hands on a copy. You won't be disappointed, I guarantee. Other reviews for this game include Amiga Action, giving this game 69%, Amiga Joker 72%, AUI 83%, Amiga Dream 89%, and the Amiga Concept 91%. I'll leave a link in the description to all these reviews if you want to check them out. Now, it's hard to rate a game when nostalgia is involved, but I remember always loving this game and it's definitely the game I played the most on the Amiga growing up. Having played that game recently, I've found that unlike many games I go back and play years later, I still really enjoy this game. So my score for this game will be a 9 out of 10. And if you haven't played it, I strongly recommend you go back and grab this game. You can pick it up on eBay for about 15 quid. It is absolutely brilliant. And if you haven't tried it, you really need to play it.